Truesdale, hold on. Take this with you.
So what is it?
I'm organizing the ultimate tournament.
And what am I holding?
Your ticket. No one can enter my tournament without one of those medals. Truesdale, it'd be in your best interest to join.
Hello everybody, and welcome to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Dynasty Series Season 2 of GX. It's me, Cooper, and today we're going to be talking about Chancellor Sheppard. That's right, the Chancellor of Duel Academy finally duels for himself in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Season 2, but guess what? He's not dueling against any massive threats that are coming after the school, like the Society of Goddamn Light that you let in the goddamn school. Why didn't you go protect your academy, you dumb old man? I will never understand you. Why didn't you protect your kids? It's because you're a bad person. Now, look, I like Chancellor Sheppard as much as the next guy. Don't get me wrong. I do like Chancellor Sheppard. But he should have done more. He was not a very good person. He's like, oh no, the Shadow Duelists are coming. I'm going to give this to some kids. Oh no, kids were threatened. Oh no, Camula almost killed somebody. Yep, I did the right thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I have mixed feelings with Chancellor Sheppard. I like him. I wanted him to be cool because he was such a nice guy, but every time a real situation comes up, I feel like he always makes the wrong decisions and makes the kids handle the problem. Except one. There's only one time where Chancellor Sheppard steps up for his kids, and that's when he notices Zane Truesdale has gone through a massive change, because Zane and his underground dueling has tainted his mind and his heart into becoming an evil duelist, and that just wants to punish people and, you know, make them feel bad. But also made him a better duelist, so I don't know why people are, like, hounding on him. He's actually a better duelist after becoming... whatever. So, Chancellor Sheppard basically was like, okay, Zane, I know you want these Cyber Dark cards. They're really cool, and I always, like, told you about these when you were younger. But you're evil and you can't have them. And Zane was like, they're literally called Cyber Dark Monsters. I am literally Hell Kaiser Zane. Dark Zane. Why do you not want me to have the Cyber Dark Monsters when I am myself going through my dark phase? And then Chancellor Sheppard thought to himself, realized he was an idiot, and handed him the deck. No, that's not what happened, but that's basically what I felt like should have happened. Chancellor Sheppard tried to duel Zane into submission, tried to bring him back to his mind, and he used himself a Cyber Ogre deck. So let's take a quick look at his deck. He's got Cyber Ogres, he's got Cyber Raiders, he's got Cybernetic Cyclopeans, he's got Cyber Espers, Cyber Phoenixes, Cyber Archfiends, Cyber Kirins, and then some basic cards like Power Bond, Limiter Removal. He's got Byroad Sacrifice, which is specifically for Cyber Ogre. He's got himself Return Soul, he's got Trojan Blast, he's got Call of the Haunted, and finally he's got Cyber Gardna. Now, most of these Cyber cards I threw into his deck because he didn't have any monsters, obviously. But some of them are actually his, like the Cyber Esper and Cyber Gardna. Overall, though, oh, and he has his fusion Cyber Ogre number 2. This is his boss monster. It's actually really cool. But overall, this is a very basic machine deck. It's actually pretty good, especially with the limiter removal in the deck. Let's go ahead and dive into his stats, though, so I can tell you why it's good and where it kind of struggles. So with the stats on screen, as you can see, he's kind of a weird one. Chancellor Sheppard is kind of a weird one, and we're going to explain why by starting with his attack stat. His attack stat is definitely below average. Because his best beater monster is Cyber Ogre at 19, and his boss monster is Cyber Ogre 2 at 2600. 26 is fine for a boss monster, but the fact that your best non-fusion monster is only 1900 attack, that's pretty freaking bad, bro. That's pretty bad. I mean, granted, Cybernetic Cyclopean, if you have no cards in your hand, could have 1000 extra attack, so it could be a 2400 beater, and that's nice, but you have to have no cards in hand, and that can be hard to pull off, especially when you have fusion cards, so we'll see how that goes. Overall, his attack's below average, even though his Cyber Ogre does have a nice effect, where if you discard this card from your hand to the graveyard, negate one battle involving a Cyber Ogre on your side of the field, and it gains 2000 attack until the end of its next battle, which means that it can go in and attack again on your battle phase, or if your opponent attacks it for, I'm guessing, a sacrificial play, you'll lose the attack points after that. But it's a hand trap, so it's nice that you have a hand trap, which is very uncommon. But usually his cards are not about that. Usually his cards are just like, hey, I'm very weak, but I have some nice stats in other places, and all I really rely on is pulling off Cyber Ogre or pulling off a fusion for Cyber Ogre number 2. His boss monster is at 26, but it does also gain attack. When this card attacks, it gains attack equal to half the attack of the attack target. Guess what? The Cyber Ogre number 2's effect is Metal Morph. Ignoring the 300 point part, it's literally just Metal Morph, which is super nice. But the rest of his monsters are ass, so it doesn't really help out that much. But moving on to his next stat, we have the speed stat, which is a little above average. I'm going to give the speed stat a little more credit. Cyber Phoenix lets him draw a card. He has triple draw power. Cyber Archfiend, I don't know much about this card. At the beginning of the draw phase, if you have no cards in your hand, draw one more card in addition to your normal draw. During your end phase, if you have one or more cards in your hand, destroy this card. Okay, very simple. This card can let you draw one more card too. This is more a skill-based card. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Byroad Sacrifice. Activate only if a monster on your side of the field is destroyed by battle. You can just special summon one Cyber Ogre from your hand. Therefore, you don't have to worry about tribute summoning Cyber Ogre. So he's got triple special summon. Return souls for searching, putting cards from that were destroyed back into their owner's decks, which is whatever. Trojan Blast. This is more of a skill-based card, I believe. Yeah, when something shifts, destroy that one monster, inflict damage. Yeah. That's more of that. The Call of the Haunteds definitely are special summon, so that helps with his speed. And he has triple trap monsters, which are all special summon monsters. So, you know, he's got some good tactics here. Moving on to his skill stat. Skill stat, he has Trojan Blast. He has Cyber Kirin, which is very low skill in my opinion. And he's got Cyber Gardna for stall. So, these are his burn cards that only work if your opponent takes one of your monsters. Or shifts a monster control from your side of the field to theirs. So if any of the opponents try to take your monster, Trojan Blast actually comes in handy, because you get to burn them for that much damage. And Cyber Gardna is a stall card, because this card, during your opponent's main phase, special summon this card's effect monster. When an opponent monster declares an attack, this card gains their attack and defense of the attacking monster. And once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you could set this back face down. So basically, you could just keep resetting its stats every turn. It's actually a really good stall card, but he has far below average stall because obviously everybody runs MST, everybody has popping cards. And even if they do, if you do use this, they could just crash. They could just have one of their weaker monsters crash with you, which really sucks when they have a floater. So, burn card, anti-burn card, and stall card. Overall, not the best when it comes to skill. In fact, it's far below average. Not great. Moving on, luck stat doesn't really have much. I guess Trojan Blast can count as just like the smallest inkling of luck because you need your opponent to steal your monster, but ignoring that, not really. Moving on to his brick stat, Chancellor Sheppard actually does not brick too often because most of his monsters he can just summon. He can draw them pretty easily, and Cyber Ogre, even though it technically is a brick, only has one tribute and has triple trap card to help summon him. I would say his brick cards can be a little Cyber Ogre, a little bit of the trap card. The fusion cards are always brick. Limited removal is not a brick in this deck. Trojan Blast is definitely a brick. Return Soul is definitely a brick. And that's about it. So he's not very bricky. I would say he's above average. He's very good at getting cards that he needs. Cards that he can actually use or summon. So that's the good news about Chancellor Sheppard. But looking back on him, he is just a character that failed all of his students. I don't know why Kaiba let him be in charge of this duel academy. Granted, he ended up making his students stronger by making them go through horrible trials that could have cost them their lives, and in some cases cost them their happiness and put them through a horrible depression. That's your fault, Chancellor Sheppard. But overall, when it comes to being a duelist, he's actually not the worst. This deck has some usability behind it. His stats may be kind of ass, and I stand by those stats. His stats deserve to be ass. But this deck, if you could pull off the Cyber Ogre 2, thanks to its Metal Morph effect, I'm sure you can win any battle. You could beat any character in this game. And if you need it, you have limited removal, you got the power bonds, you got so many options here. Overall, I would like to say that Chancellor Sheppard, despite the low stats, despite the crappy monsters here and there, I forgot to talk about his defense stat. His defense is good. He has good defense. He has Cyber Phoenix at 16, he's got Cyber Esper at 18, and he's got Cyber Archfiend at 2,000, which this card kind of gets destroyed anyway, but 2,000 defense is nice. He's actually not too bad when it comes to defense. He has more efficient defense than he does attack. But overall, potential-wise, I think this deck has the slightest of chances of winning the tournament, but still can be a tournament contender. So, even though I feel like I've said this about other decks, this deck gets a 2.5 stars despite its suckiness. I think it can do it. I think people playing this deck need to be very careful on how you play this deck. It's good to try and play this deck like an Infernity deck where you have no cards in your hand, and don't be afraid to be overly aggressive. So that's going to be it for this one. I want to thank you all for watching. If you're enjoying these little deck profiles, getting us ready for the big subscriber tournament, I hope that you choose Chancellor Sheppard. I want you to show some love for the Chancellor that abandoned and hurt all of his students. And I'll see you all next time. Thank you all for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe.